darling. Good morning, good morning. I'm having my flaming cup of coffee, courtesy of Joe and Litwick. I love this, it smells good. And coffee I can drink. So here's to you, here's to me, here's to all of us. We're all in the same soup together, darling. And sometimes people forget that and think that they are more special than anyone else. And you know, we're all special. We're all special. And someone once said on Facebook, we're all swimming in the same direction. So I don't know why we make such a big fuss about things, you know, and pettiness. So anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. I don't know how I got off on that. I want to talk about a woman I just loved and admired. She was so kind and so thoughtful. And that was Raisa Maksimova Gorbacheva, Mikhail Gorbachev's wife. And if you don't know who Mikhail Gorbachev was, then honey, you should get back in your cradle. Please, please. I'm astonished when people don't know about the Cold War. It was such a big part of my life, and I think everyone should know. But darling, they don't. And that shows how time goes, and new generations just don't know what happened when we were at a certain age, or I was. Anyway, I was in Moscow. I'd been invited after my work there, and those of you who don't know, I have and had an international peace foundation with children, and I took children all over the world to talk to world leaders and get them to sign, like the document in back of me that was signed by Indira Gandhi and Mikhail Gorbachev and the Premier of China. I didn't have it for all of my trips because I made 37 trips around the world. And I think about that now, and I thought I did it at the right time. I sure couldn't do it now. But it was astonishing. But I was invited to the Kremlin for an international conference to address 6,000 people in the Kremlin and bring the banner of hope as one of the things they wanted to do for this big event. Well, I was a dither, you know, I was dithering. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be in the Kremlin. I have to give a speech or a little talk in front of 6,000 people. But it was incredible. And in the Kremlin, I found myself sitting on the dais, one place removed from Raisa Gorbachev, who, of course, is the wife of Mikhail Gorbachev, and a woman, I didn't know who she was until later. She was Fidel Castro's sister-in-law and a great power in Cuba. And I learned all of this later, and I don't remember her name, I'm sorry. But there were people from all over the world. It was a communist soup that day. And there I was, you know, like, oh. I had friends in San Francisco saying, oh, you aren't becoming a red, are you? I go like, I'm trying to bring peace. I'm trying to get the two countries to talk to each other. People are, you know, please, I don't go there. I don't know why people always go to something negative. Don't do that, darling. Don't do that. So anyway, I'm sitting there getting ready for my event that I was going to do, and it turns out that I followed Mikhail Gorbachev to the podium. I did. It's hard for me to even believe it now, but I did it. And I'm sitting there nervous, and I think Raisa knew I was nervous. She had to know. And she wrote a note to me that said, and had it pushed down the table to me when I'm sitting there, we're glad you're here. We're really glad you're here. Now, how sweet, how thoughtful. And I found that out about her time after time because I got to know her pretty well. And in San Francisco, they made a trip to San Francisco, and it was the first time there. And the newspaper asked me to cover their trip. And so I was having a really good time doing it. And, everyone was trying to get to the Gorbachevs one way or the other. And I read in the paper, now I couldn't believe it, how petty people can be. And not going to say the woman's name. I think I've forgotten it, or I would tell you. But it said that a group had organized themselves, calling themselves Friends of Raisa. And that was great. I had no quarrel with any of that. But then the woman went on to say that they were going to meet with her while they were in San Francisco, and that didn't include Pat Montague. You hear that song, All My Insecurities? I couldn't believe it. And I thought, honey, your jealousy is showing. I know the Gorbachevs. And I think that many of these people did meet with the Gorbachevs at one time or another. And that's great. That's great. But why put down someone else? And so that's my lesson for the day. That's my preacher Pat mode. I get I just pull away when people start trashing anyone. I just won't indulge in it. And as I said, we're all in the same soup together. And I read these things about, Justin Bieber, the poor guy. He needs some guidance. I don't approve of what he did, but it's not up to me to trash him. He's got enough going on. 19 years old. He needs to get a grip, but we can't make it happen by trashing him. And the same thing with the Kardashians. I don't know what it is, why people want to trash them. If you don't like what they're doing, that's fine. I've never watched them. They're beautiful women. But they have a heart and a soul. We all have that in common. And we're all spirits. So when I talk to you, I'm talking to your spirit. When you look at me on this thing I'm doing, whatever it turns out to be, you're looking at a spirit. That's what we all are. We're energy. Sometimes not very much. So anyway, I get off on these riffs, as they say, without my coffee yet. Oh. But I just want to say that really one of the highlights of my life was hearing President Gorbachev speak and having him acknowledge me and be friends with me. And Raisa, I appreciate those people. Raisa died a few years ago, and it's a great loss. Because I've got a picture of her, and I'm standing there listening, and my translator's trying to keep up to tell me what Raisa's saying, because she was talking to the press, the Russian press, and she was telling them off about women, and that they should include more women, that they shouldn't put women down, and she was really going at it. Of course, I feel that way too, but she really said it. And I had been wearing high heel shoes with pointy toes, well, you know the drill. I thought I would die. My feet were hurting so much. So I took my shoes off. And my friend got a picture of me standing there near Raisa Gorbachev, just like we're both in the same picture, in my bare feet, and stocking feet. And darling, my feet take a lot of space on the floor. So you do what you've got to do. I hope you have a really good day. Thank you, darling. Mwah.